3 ways to generate more fleet work for your heavy-duty repair shop. Hey guys, my name's Corey. I'm the founder of RepairLift, and we specifically help heavy-duty shops generate more work through breakdown work and also B2B fleet commercial account. Let's talk about fleet work. So obviously everybody talks about fleet work, they want more fleet work, etc. But first of all, what does fleet work really mean and how do we get more fleets? So obviously there's going to be a bunch of different types of fleets, different equipment, different sizes of fleets, all that kind of stuff. Today, I want to talk about 3 general categories of how you can attract fleets of all sizes and the pros and cons of each one of them. There's 3 ways. The first way is going to be through outbound sales. The second way is going to be through inbound sales. And then the third way is going to be through cash on delivery jobs that you then nurture into bigger accounts. Let's look at all 3 of them. First of all, what is outbound sales? Outbound sales is either you or your sales guy, maybe you have a sales guy, calling these businesses, showing up at their door, building relationships with them, and just essentially manually working that relationship, ideally to get your foot in the door and obviously then to get most of or the whole account. So we call that outbound. The second way is inbound. So very similar, except instead of your guy spending all of his time going around trying to create those relationships, you're still doing that, except you're also paying for marketing. I'm sure that you've probably, if you're watching this video, seen our ads. Very similar to the way that we create this content and target it towards you. You can do the same thing targeting these fleet accounts so that they're reaching out to your sales guy, so that your money is doing the heavy lifting and he's spending more of his time actually talking to decision makers rather than in the first option where he's spending most of his time talking to gatekeepers and hoping to get a breakthrough. So we're going to talk about inbound as well. And then finally is like COD that you nurture. Okay, so if you look at the fleet accounts you have right now, I'm sure a number of them were people who reached out to you for one type of job, you built a relationship with them, and now they like doing business with you and they keep coming back. That's the third strategy we are going to talk about today, and we'll get into the pros and cons of that. So let's start with outbound. What are the pros and cons of outbound? Well, if you're doing outbound yourself and you don't have a sales guy, it is low investment is a pro. Another pro to this is relationship building. If you are doing this yourself, it's low investment. Now, if you're hiring a sales guy, it is not low investment. It's expensive. It can also be expensive. Let's just put owner versus paid sales guy. Another con, majority of your time spent talking to gatekeepers. Let's be real. The guy who's running the business does not want someone coming in to try to sell him anything, let alone truck service. So more than likely, you're going to talk to his secretary. She's not going to let you talk to him, or you're going to have to keep kind of banging your head against that wall until maybe you show up and he's there, or maybe you call him, she's busy and he answers the phone. Long story short, I've done this type of sales. I did it for years. It's not a good and efficient way to use your time, unless of course you have nothing, you're just starting, you have no customers, you have no money, sweat equity. This is what you do. The other con to this is if you are not hiring a sales guy to do this, it is going to be inconsistent. You're going to go get motivated and then you're going to go run out, you're going to go talk to 5 accounts one day, maybe you're going to do it the next day and then you probably won't ever do it again. Let's be real. Or maybe you'll do it a little bit next week and then you'll stop. Or long story short, 99% of people who do this and they're doing it, like there's not like money and resources allocated to a sales rep or an actual function of the business to pursue this, it just doesn't get done. That actually is the real con to this whole thing. So now let's talk about inbound. Inbound is where we're marketing towards people to feed our sales guys. This is what I've done for years. My sales guys eat all day long. There's book appointments on their calendar. There's leads who didn't book that they can reach out to, but who have shown interest. Again, obviously with the owner's cell phone number, so they're not calling the shop trying to, hey, is buddy in? Oh no, call back tomorrow. Oh, I just called back. Yeah, I've been calling every day for the last 3 weeks. Is he in yet? Big waste of time. So the beauty of inbound is that we are going to get owner information or decision maker. So the pros, we're getting the owner information. We're not wasting time with gatekeepers. What else is the other pro? We are spending our time talking to decision makers, not gatekeepers. Now, instead of spending 90% of your time just trying to get through to contact somebody, depending on the lead flow you have, maybe that's going to go to 50% of the time these guys are actually talking to real accounts that have some interest, obviously maximizing what they're generating for you. That's a pro. And then the other pro to inbound is long-term brand recognition. Okay. When you invest into content, either money and time, it lives on the internet. First of all, you're going to get in front of people. They're going to become familiar with your brand. And the longer that stuff stays there, the more traffic you push towards it, they'll become very familiar with you. And then you will build a lot of trust with the marketplace. I mean, you just think of anybody in your area, whether it's a lawyer, cash for gold guy, or a real estate agent on the billboards, on the TV, there's somebody who's doing this stuff that you know because they're targeting consumer stuff. Now you just want to take that same theory and target businesses that have fleets of heavy equipment. So now the cons to this, it is expensive. It is not cheap. It's expensive. It's expensive to make content. It's not crazy, but you're, going to probably be in a minimum of $5,000 on the marketing, and then you're probably going to be in another $4,000 to $5,000 on the sales guy. Now keep in mind, that's $10,000 a month. One good fleet account can pay for an entire year of that, right? If you sign one. And so the ROI on this is huge. You sign two that are $100,000 a year accounts, which aren't humongous accounts, by the way. Like, we have clients with $1 million plus fleet accounts every year. The ROI on this is obviously massive if you can do it right. The other con to this is that it takes time. People don't trust you right off the bat. They got to see you for a while. Maybe your guy calls them. It's like, oh, I was just looking. But now he's in the pipeline, the ecosystem. And then in 3 to 6 months from now, maybe he actually does something with you. Which brings us to our third way to attract fleet accounts, which is COD plus Nurture. This is my favorite way to do this for a number of reasons. So essentially what we're doing here is someone's going to call us and we're going to do work for them. They're part of a bigger fleet, or they're an owner of a small to mid-sized fleet. One of those two things. We're going to go out, do the job. We're going to make a quick relationship with the owner, and we are going to start getting more and more of that work. How do we do this? My favorite way to do this predictably and scalably is through Google Ads. Why? Because we can generate calls on Google Ads for anywhere from like $25 to $50, depending on if we're targeting like used tires or tire jobs, or if we're targeting just like engine work. The cost will vary. But the point is every single day in every major area, people break down, they search on Google for diesel mechanic, either roadside or maybe their truck's limping and they're looking for a shop near them they can come to. But it happens every single day, which means that this is something we can tap into, where every day there is going to be opportunity for us. The cons of this type of marketing is not everybody. In fact, the majority of the calls you get are not going to be people who are fleet accounts. They're going to be one-off owner operators. So not all fleet accounts. Now, there's still benefit there because you'll work with owner operators or just one-off guys from out of state, right? And that's still a nice paid job for you. But it's not what you're looking for if you're looking for fleets. But some of those people will be fleets. Some of those, like I said, there'll be a guy who's, he'll call, the driver will call, and then he'll tell you to call the boss, who's the person who oversees the fleet. Sometimes that's the owner. And then you can build a relationship with that person. We see this happen all the time across all of our different client accounts. And the real beauty behind this is that it is actually, the con is that you're not going to get all fleet accounts. The pros are that you are going to be able to liquidate ad spend on fleet or owner op. So that means like, all right, well, I spent money. I didn't get a fleet account today. I spent $100, but this guy wants me to do a patch job on his truck, or this guy wants me to change out his rad or something like that. I'm actually ROI positive on what it costs me to go shoot and try to get one of those fleet leads. Okay. So I'm actually not losing money, which is another pro, which is fast ROI and low risk. Versus if you jump back up here to inbound, we're talking about spending money every single day on social media, and maybe the messaging doesn't hit right away, or maybe the trust isn't there right away. So you're spending, and you're not necessarily going to be getting something that is going to be paying you very quickly. On the COD plus Nurture, whether we are actually generating owner ops or fleet accounts, both of them are paying right away. So this is basically like a paid trial. When my clients get called from fleet accounts, it's because they're getting called out to service one of those pieces of equipment. Oftentimes the owner will go with the tech and they'll go make the relationship over there, but they're paid to be there. right? Which means they're getting immediate ROI and they're getting an immediate transaction from that customer. And it's also much less expensive to do this type of advertising than it is to do, a bunch of content or to hire a sales guy, right? Because that's the other pro here, is that we don't need a sales guy. We don't need another body here to handle this work because we already have a service manager or a service writer or a front desk girl or someone who's already taking calls every single day for us and turning that into business. So we don't need to change our infrastructure. That's the other pro here. I think if you're looking to attract fleet accounts, the answer of which one of these that you work with depends on where you're at as a business. If you're doing a couple $100,000 a month, you're profitable. I think that, well, first of all, COD plus Nurture, I think, is foundational. I think every single truck repair shop should be doing this, regardless of size. So I think this is like a mandatory one right here, because you get cash up front, you get cash quickly, you get fast ROI, and you get more calls coming in and opportunities that you could either choose to take or, turn down, of course. So COD plus Nurture, foundation, mandatory, in my opinion. Now, if you are, doing like 30 to 50 grand a month, I still think you do this. If you're doing like less than 30 grand a month, your probably only strategy is outbound, which is like just get your ass out there and network basically and put in the sweat equity to grow the business, because you're not going to have money for either of these things. I will say, if you are a business that already has a sales guy, okay, so you already have a guy who is doing sales, then I would certainly, and having some success with that sales, then I would do inbounds, because now you're actually just going to make that guy much more efficient because you're going to be feeding him leads. So he's going to be able to talk to people who are actually interested. He's going to be talking to the right people, not just the secretary or the gatekeeper. And there's just a bunch of reasons why you would want to do this, because you're going to make your sales guy basically 10 times as valuable to you, because he's actually going to have opportunities to work. I would say that if you have a sales guy and you cannot afford to bolt on inbound marketing, I would let the sales guy go and I would focus that money again on COD plus Nurture, because that could just fall into your existing infrastructure outside of this sales guy here, and it'll provide a bigger return, a better return, etc. So yeah, that's the 3 different ways that you can generate fleet accounts if you are a heavy duty repair business.